Day 349 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 65, valid number. The difficulty level is hard, but don't worry because we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go on and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. Given a string S, return whether S is a valid number. For example, all of the following are examples of valid numbers: 2, 0, 0, 8, 9, negative 0.1, 3.14, 4, negative 0.9, 2e10, 9, negative 9, 0e3, and so on, while the following are not valid numbers: ABC, 1A, 1E, E3, 99E2.5, negative 6, negative plus 3, 95A5, 4E53. So as you can see, y'all, these are not valid numbers, as you can see, because they have numbers. Some of them have alphabet letters, some of them have letters, some of them have numbers and letters, some have two minus signs, some have a minus and plus sign, whereas up here you can see these are all valid numbers, right? They're just numbers. They might have a negative sign. You might see an E. The E is just for exponents, so don't worry about the E. You'll see as we go further down reading this question that the E's are for exponents, small e or capital E. They're both for exponents, which allows them to stay consistent with being a valid number. But let's go ahead and keep reading through the problem just so we can go through the requirements and the definition of what a valid number is. It says, formally, a valid number is defined using one of the following definitions: an integer followed by an optional exponent, a decimal number followed by an optional exponent. An integer number is defined with an optional sign, a negative sign or plus sign, followed by digits. A decimal number is defined with an optional sign, a negative sign or plus sign, followed by one of the following definitions. Digits are followed by a dot. Digits are followed by a dot followed by digits, a dot followed by digits. An exponent is defined with an exponent notation, lowercase e or capital case E, followed by an integer number. The digits are defined as one or more digits. So now that we've read the requirements or the definition of what a valid number is, let's just come back, take one more look at this so you can see that these are all valid numbers. We all know what a number is, right? And these right here are all numbers, as where you might see an E, but the E is just letting us know that it's an exponent. That's all the E is doing, which still allows it to be a valid number and fit the requirements. Whereas we come right here, we all know the difference between a letter and a number. And you come down here, these are all letters or numbers. What letters? They're not numbers. Like 1A is not a number, right? 1A is not a number. 1E is not a number. E3 is not a number. These are not numbers because there's no exponent after the E or before the E, right? You can't just have an exponent to the third power with no number before that. Or you can't just say 1E and then not have an exponent number to go with that E, right? So you might come right here where it says 99E 2.5, but that doesn't fit the requirements because it says it has to be followed by an integer number, and I guess the 2.5 doesn't count as an integer number. This might be a little tricky, but we'll get through it. For some reason, this is not a valid number, but hey, it's their world. We just live in it. These are the rules. We don't make the rules. We're just living by them. So now that we understand the question, y'all, let's go ahead and take a look at these examples. Examples are a little bit more easier to understand because we can see what's the number and what's not, right? It's not dealing with all these complex numbers like they are in this example up here. So let's look at example 1. In example 1, we have the input s equals 0. We know 0 is a number, it's a valid number, so the output is true. Example 2, input s equals e is not a number, so it's not a valid number, so we're going to return false. And once again, in example 3, input s equals a dot. Once again, a dot is not a number, so we're going to return false. We only return true if it's a valid number or if it's a number. And example 1 makes it seem a little bit easier than it is, but as you can see from these examples up here, it can get a little tricky and a little tedious, so we're going to have to take our time when we're writing this code. But with all that being said, y'all, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution, writing the code. Now, the code is a little bit lengthy today, but don't worry, we'll get through it. You know, sometimes as programmers, we're going to have some tedious tasks that we need to do, and today is one of those days. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a helper function to validate the base numbers before e, and it can be assigned to a float. So in order to do that, what we are going to do is, first thing we need to do, we're going to, hold on, let me come over here. We're going to declare func, or we're going to create our function. We could call it is valid component 0, because we're going to have a is valid component 1, so we could just name this is valid component 0. Then we're going to open up the parentheses. We're going to say underscore CHS colon, excuse me, that should be a colon, and then it's going to be an array of characters. So we're going to open up the square bracket, put character inside of the square brackets, and it's going to return a Boolean. So we'll come outside of the parentheses and return a Boolean, and then we're going to open up our brackets. Then we need to declare what these characters are. So we're going to come right here, we're going to say let num, or we can call it nums, colon. Then we're going to open up the square bracket. We're going to put a character. So it's going to, nums is going to be an array of characters, and we're going to set that equal to, we're going to open up a square brackets again, and we're going to pass in all of the numbers from 0 through 9 as a string. So we're going to say quotation mark 0. Come outside of that, we're going to say quotation marks 1. Come outside of that, comma, quotation marks 2. Comma, quotation marks 3, comma, quotation marks 4, comma, quotation marks 5, comma, quotation marks 6, comma, quotation marks 7, comma, quotation marks 8, comma, and quotation marks 9. Boom. Now we're going to declare another variable, and we are going to just say var, we'll call it dot count, and we'll set that equal to 0 to start. Then we're going to come right here. We're going to start our for loop. We're going to say for underscore I, comma, c, n, chs dot enumerated. So what this enumeration is going to do, this enumerated is going to get us the index, that's what the I is for, and it's going to get the character of that index. So for example, say we're looking at this array right here, it will get us it'll get us the index. So say we're looking for, this is at index 0, boom, so that would be, the I would be index 0, and also the character would be 0, so it would return 0, 0 for index 0, and character would be 0 as well, or the element would be 0 as well. Then we're going to open up the brackets. We're going to say if c, we're going to say if c equals quotation marks, put the dot inside, then we're going to open up the brackets. We're going to declare variable has, we call one variable has a number before, before, and we're going to set that equal to false. Then we're going to declare another variable has number after, and we're going to set that equal to false as well. Boom. I'm wondering, my bad, y'all. I'm just wondering why this is lighting up. Oh, that's because we spelled it wrong. Sorry. I was wondering why that was lighting up, but the other one wasn't. Okay, there we go. Boom. Now we're going to say dot count plus equals 1. And now we need to check if there's a number before or after the dot to ensure it's a valid decimal. So to do that, we're going to come right here. We're going to say if I is is greater than 0, we're going to open up the bracket and we're going to say has number before equals nums dot contains, open up the parentheses, CHS, open up the square brackets, I minus 1. Boom. Then we're going to come down here and we are going to say if I is less than CHS dot count minus 1, we're going to open up the brackets and we're going to say has number after equals nums dot contains, open up the parentheses, CHS, square bracket, I plus 1. Boom. Then we're going to come underneath this. Sorry, y'all. And we're going to say if, open up the parentheses, has number before, 2 vertical lines for or, has number after, come outside the parentheses, we're going to say equal equals false. Then we're going to open up the brackets and we're going to return false, just like that. Boom. Then we're going to come underneath this if statement right here. We're going to say if I equals 0, we're going to open up the brackets. And we need to allow optional sign at the start, but ensure it's followed by a number or a dot. So we're going to say if C equals quotation marks plus sign, come outside those quotation marks, or C equals quotation marks minus sign, then we're going to open up the brackets and we're going to declare a variable. We're going to call it has number after. We're going to set that equal to false. We're going to come right here underneath that. We're going to say if CHS dot count is greater than 1, open up the brackets. We're going to say has number after equals nums dot contains, open up the parentheses. We'll say CHS square bracket 1, come outside these parentheses but still inside the bracket. We're going to say or CHS square bracket 1 equals quotation marks, and we're going to put a dot in the quotation marks. Boom. Then we're going to come, not this if statement right here, but this the if statement. We're going to say else. We're going to open up the brackets. Well, first, sorry, y'all, we need to come underneath this, and we need to say if has number after equals false, then we open up the brackets and return false. Boom. Then we're going to come right here with this else, and we are going to say the signs are only valid at the beginning. So we're going to say if C equals quotation marks plus sign, or C equals quotation marks minus sign, then we're just going to return false. So we can say, open up the brackets and we're going to say return false, just like that. Now we're going to come right here and At most, one dot is allowed in a valid decimal number. So we're going to say, we're going to handle that by saying if dot count is greater than 1, then we could just open up the brackets and we could return false right away, because there shouldn't be more than one dot in any number. Else, we're going to come underneath that and we're going to return true. Boom. Now we're not done yet, because we still have another helper function that we're going to create, and this one is going to be called is valid component 1. So we're going to come underneath this and we are going to say declare func, and this is going to validate the exponent part. So after the e, it must be a signed or unsigned integer. So we're going to say func is valid component 1. We're going to open up the parentheses, excuse me, y'all, and we're going to say underscore CHS colon. Once again, it's going to be an array of character, so square bracket character, and we're going to come outside and it's going to return a bool, and we're going to open up the brackets. Now we need to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to say let nums colon, it's going to be cast it as an array of characters, and we're going to set that equal to, once again, we're going to do 0 through 9 in quotation marks. So we'll say quotation mark 0, comma, quotation marks 1, comma, quotation marks 2, comma, quotation marks 3, comma, quotation marks 4, comma, quotation marks 5, comma, comma, quotation marks 6, comma, quotation marks 7, comma, quotation marks 8, comma, quotation marks 9. Boom. And sorry, y'all, this should be in square brackets, not parentheses. It should be an array. Sorry about that. Boom. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to say for parentheses I, comma, C, come outside the parentheses N, CHS dot enumerated. So we're going to use this enumerated again. And we're going to say if I equals 0, we're going to open up the bracket, right? And so the exponent part cannot start with a dot. So we're going to say if C equals quotation marks dot, we could just return false. So we're going to say open up the brackets and we're going to say return false. Boom. Now we can allow an optional sign at the beginning. So we're going to say if C equals quotation marks plus sign, or C equals quotation marks negative sign, we're going to open up the brackets. Boom. Then we're going to declare a variable called has number after. We're going to set that equal to false, and we're going to say if ch.count is greater than 1, we're going to open up the brackets. We're going to say has number after equals nums dot contains, open up the parentheses, ch square bracket 1. Boom. Then we're going to come outside these brackets on a new line, and we're going to say if has number after equals false, open up the brackets, and we can return false. Return false, just like that. Then we're going to come right here once again to this if statement. We're going to say else, and we're going to say only digits are allowed after the first character in the exponent. So we're going to say if C equals quotation marks plus, or C equals quotation marks minus, or C equals quotation marks dot, then we could just return false off the bat. Return false, just like that. Then we're gonna come, if all this else completes, we could just come right here and we could just say return true. Boom. Still not done yet. We still need to split a character array by lowercase e or capital case E into the most two components, right? So for that, we're going to come underneath this function. We're going to declare another function. We call this function split by e. Open up the parentheses. We're going to say underscore chs colon. It's going to be an array of characters. Boom. And it's going to return a 2D array of characters. So return square bracket character. Boom. Then we come outside that. We can open up the brackets. And we're going to declare a variable called res. Say colon. That's going to be a 2D array of characters. So square bracket character. Come outside of that, and we can initialize it with a blank array. Then we're going to declare another variable called TMP colon. That's just going to be an array of characters. So square bracket character. Set that equal to a blank array. And we're going to say for C and CHS, we're going to open up the bracket if C equals quotation marks lowercase e, or C equals quotation marks capital E. We're going to open up the bracket. We're going to say res dot append, open up the parentheses, TMP. Then we're going to come underneath that. We're going to say TMP now equals a blank array. Come right here. We're going to say else, open up the brackets, TMP dot append, open up the parentheses, C. Oh, sorry, y'all. This should be a regular bracket, not a square bracket. Let me fix this real quick. Boom. Then we're going to come right here, and we are going to say res dot append, open up the parentheses, TMP. Come underneath that. We're going to say return res. Boom. Now we have one more helper function to write. So don't worry, y'all. We're almost there. I know y'all are getting a little anxious, but don't worry. We're almost there, y'all. This is going to convert a string into a character array and check for invalid characters. So to do that, we could just declare a func called chars, open up the parentheses, say underscore s, colon, that's going to be a string. Come out the parentheses, it's going to return an array of character. Boom, then we can open up the brackets. Now we need to do the valid characters one more time, but this time we're going to add in the e's and then plus and negative and dot sign. So we're going to say let valid chars, then we're going to say colon, that's going to be an array of character. We'll set that equal to an array. We'll say quotation marks 0, comma, quotation marks 1, comma, quotation marks 2, comma, quotation marks 3, comma, quotation marks 4, comma, quotation marks 5, comma, quotation marks 6, comma, quotation marks 7, comma, sorry y'all, quotation marks 8, comma, quotation marks 9, comma. We're not done yet because we still need to do the E, so we're going to say quotation marks lowercase e, comma, quotation marks capital case E, comma, quotation marks plus sign, comma, quotation marks minus sign, comma, and quotation marks period. Boom. Now we come underneath this and we could declare another variable called CHS. We'll say colon, that's going to be an array of character. Come outside of that, we're going to set that equal to a blank array. Come underneath that, we're going to say for C and S. We're going to open up the brackets. We're going to say CHS dot append, open up the parentheses S. C. C, not S, y'all. We're going to append C. And if any valid character is found, we're going to return an empty array. So we're going to come still inside the for loop. We're going to come underneath that. We're going to say if valid chars dot contains, open up the parentheses C, equals false. And we're going to open up the brackets. We're going to say CHS equals a blank array. Come underneath that and we're just going to break. Then we're going to come down here and we're just going to say return CHS. Now we're not done yet because we still need to call, we're done with the helper functions, but we still need to call these helper functions, and this main is number function, right? So we're almost there, we're getting there, y'all, but not yet. So, and this is number function. First thing we need to do is we need to convert the input string into a character array for filtering out any invalid characters. So we could say let CHS equal chars, open up the parentheses S. Boom. Which is that helper function that we just created. Boom. Now we need to return false if the input string is empty or contains only invalid characters. So we're going to say guard CHS.count is greater than 0, else we just open up the brackets and we could say return false. Boom. Now we need to split the character array by lowercase e or capital case E, since the scientific notation uses E. So we're going to say let components equal split by E, open up the parentheses CHS. Boom. Now scientific notation can only have at most one E, one lowercase e or one capital case E, which splits into two parts. So we're going to come right here and we're going to say if components dot count is greater than 2, we could just return false off the bat. So return false. Boom. Now both sides of E must be non-empty as well, right, for the exponent to work. So we're going to say if components dot count equals 2, and so 2 and signs, open up the parentheses, components square bracket, let me see, components square bracket 0 dot count equals 0, or 2 vertical lines, components square bracket 1 dot count equals 0. Then we can open up the brackets and return false. Boom. Now we need to validate the part before E as a decimal number or the part after E as an integer. So we're going to come right here and we are going to say if hold on, let me just make it easier to read because I know it's a lot of code being written. We're gonna say if components dot count equals 2. Excuse me, 2. That should be a 2. Then we're gonna open up the brackets and we're gonna say return is valid component 0. So is valid component 0. This first is valid function we wrote. Open up the parentheses. We're gonna say components square bracket 0. Come outside of these parentheses. We're gonna say and sign is valid. This time we'll say is valid components 1. Open up the parentheses. Components square bracket 1. Boom. Now, if there's no E, we need to validate the entire string as a decimal number. So we're going to come right here. We're going to say if components dot count equals 1, then we're going to open up the brackets and we're going to return is valid component 0. Open up the parentheses, components square bracket 0. And after we do that, all we have to do is come right here and say return true. Now that should be all she wrote, y'all. Let's give it a run. Hopefully it runs correctly. Okay. So we got one already. Is valid components 1. So let's see if we spelled it wrong. So yeah, it should be no S. Sorry about that, y'all. Let's run it again, see what happens this time. Let's see. And it's accepted, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. Let's see. Ooh, look at that, y'all. 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the numbers I like to see. I hope y'all like to see those numbers too. And yeah, with that being said, so let y'all get one more look at the code. This is the main function right here. Boom. This is the first. This is the top part of the is valid component 0. Boom. This is the rest of it. Boom. Then this is the is valid component 1. Boom. This is the split by E. Boom. And this is the chars. Sorry you can't see all the way over here, but it's a quotation marks too, ends in an array over here. Boom. So this is the chars. And yeah, y'all, with that being said, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.